Warhaven is not the game that you think it is. Allow me to elaborate.
There's only this moment of Warhaven.
Yes, Warhaven. I only spent around 5 to 6 hours with this game, but the gameplay was straightforward enough that, like Sauron, I'm confident I've seen everything my all-seeing gamer eyes needed to see. Warhaven is like medieval Overwatch plus Dynasty Warriors, but without the part where you fight dynasties. You only fight other warriors who are just as big and strong as you are, so all of the fun you would have had mowing down hordes of little soldiers like they were limp Looney Tunes french fries is all but Jiao done. It's funny how every time a new medieval PvP game comes out, it's immediately compared to For Honor. So how is it like For Honor? It's medieval and PvP. Trust me when I say this game is farther from For Honor than a decent balance change. But is that a bad thing? Warhaven is a medieval PvP fighting game with 2 teams of 16 players, each battling it out for supremacy over Dominion-esque objectives like flags, respawn points, and cannons, which are useless by the way. There are 6 classes to choose from, each varying enough in gameplay to distinguish themselves from one another. And by distinguish, I mean you'll be able to tell which ones are terrible and which ones are absolutely broken. When your ultimate is finally charged, when your incarnation is finally charged, you can incarnate into one of 4 immortals, each having their own unique playstyles and abilities. One looks cool, one has a sword and shield, one shoots firebirds, and one gets kills. And with that, you have earned your master's degree for the entire game. This game is very, very simple. Spending 6 hours in Warhaven is like spending 6 hours in a hyperbolic time chamber, which is, for all the non-Dragon Ball enjoyers out there, the equivalent to 91 days. Each game only lasts about 10 minutes. So you'll hop into a match, get some kills, take some objectives, and that's about it. There's no story, no other game modes, just Dominion and Skirmish, which play exactly the same. The only difference being the cannon and respawn points being switched out for flags B and C. While the game is easily accessible to new players, anyone having past experience with medieval PvP games like Mortal, For Honor, or even Chivalry better not stand up straight because they might just bump their heads on the skill ceiling. The combat in this game, like pretty much everything else, is terribly simple, each player having 2 to 3 abilities, a guard that you can hold, and 2 basic attack variants, leaving combat feeling more shallow than the water level produced by your average shower. However, you can perform what is called a perfect guard, which is the closest thing to a basic parry, but doesn't actually stagger or create any kind of space or window to attack between you and your opponent, but you attack slightly faster, giving you a very slight edge. However, this really only helps against players who don't actually wise up and wait for you to attack so that they can also do the same. You do take chip damage for blocking, and there is a limit to how much you can block, but these 2 factors only really come into play when you outnumber an enemy, otherwise they are negligible. So what does this mean for you? It means 1v1s are frankly quite boring, but it's not like you'll have to deal with those very much, because this game is, in my opinion, 99% team-based. The biggest problem I have with this game is the fact that because there are 32 people to a match, and because the combat is so simplistic in nature, the level of agency and power given to any one single player is drastically reduced. There are essentially no defenses for a single player fighting a group of enemies by themselves. Your block will run out, your attacks will never be fast enough, your hyper armor won't matter, and 99% of the time your abilities don't provide nearly enough utility or damage to get you out of a 1v2 plus situation, unless you're Guardian. The only thing that might save you from your fate if you ever do find yourself in a 1v2 plus situation is incarnating, but even the immortals have their limits. Now you might be asking the question, well, even in games like For Honor, Mortal, or Chivalry, you can't really fight more than one person at a time without extensive experience with these games. So who's to say it isn't the same in Warhaven's case? Well, my fellow medieval PvP enjoyer, to that I'd say that these games present 1v1 situations quite often, and while it is true that when outnumbered your chances of surviving the encounter are greatly reduced, in these games you are given the tools to manipulate the situation in your favor. Leveraging these tools to your benefit, there is still a chance for you to escape or to even come out on top. This largely is not the case for Warhaven. I believe that the combat and tools you are given in Warhaven are catered and tuned for team-based play, meaning that no one player can truly stand out from the crowd. One player alone cannot stand against a team. Basically, you can't clutch. Because of this, I feel that a very crucial part of what makes every PvP game ever fun has been omitted from Warhaven. Ranked matches, individual gameplay statistics. Warhaven, as it stands right now, has no need for these things. Maybe if they added additional modes with fewer players and smaller maps, it would be a different story. Even with all of that said, the game is shockingly still fun. One thing this game does right is the feeling of getting multiple kills at the same time, which is essentially the only thing you really play this game for. There isn't really any pressure on you to think. There's no pressure on you to even accrue a score, or kills even, seeing as only the top player's stats and a single not play of the game are shown at the end of the match. In doing this, I believe Warhaven aims to give players the feeling of clutching a match without actually having the pressure of doing so. In my opinion, this cheapens the thrill somewhat, but it is so easy to get that you're enticed into playing just one more round if you didn't get what you wanted out of the last match. There are also perks that are earnable once you reach a certain level with any one particular class. These perks are somewhat powerful and afford players a little bit of that agency that I was talking about before. However, these don't necessarily help to single you out as a player, simply because there aren't enough meaningful options to choose from. And because of this, most of the time people will be running the same thing. There are also relics that offer a little bit of nuance once earned, but again, most are overshadowed by one that you can get that serves as a spawn point for up to 3 players. I'll be honest here, I think this game has potential to be something great. It's stupid, it's simple, it's chaotic, but it's fun, which is kind of weird coming from a guy who's played every competitive medieval PvP combat game he could get his hands on. But this dumbed down combat needs some depth, and I think the developers of this game shouldn't shirk skill-based players in an effort to streamline a niche genre. I'm all for a bigger medieval PvP player base, but not at the expense of what makes these types of games great. But don't even get me started on the fact that these guys put a premium battle pass in a free-to-play demo. Ain't no way they got a battle pass in the demo, bro. Me when I find out there's a $10 battle pass in my free-to-play demo. We won't open that can of worms today. But then again, the game is being published by Nexon, so I guess that's just the way life goes at this point in the gaming industry. As long as it stays purely cosmetic, I'm fine with whatever maniacal concoctions they whip up in the shop tab. Cosmetics tied to class progression is a great idea, by the way. In my humble janitorial opinion, Warhaven is a game that is taking the route of mass appeal. Because they know medieval PvP players are so starved for games, they'll play it anyways. Maybe it will be a breakout hit. It probably won't, but you never know. What I do know is that taking this game for anything more than some stupid fun in the form of a medieval fighting McDonald's playground would be silly. Warhaven is slated for release sometime soon this year, so hopefully some more people will get their hands on it and have some fun. I do hope that a little more nuance and depth is put into combat before then though. Maybe introduce more in-depth mechanics and ranked modes? Just a thought. Anyways, those are my thoughts on Warhaven. I hope hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, I have more videos like it on my channel. If you liked the video, go immortal on that like button, and if you didn't, you have my most heartfelt and profound solicitude. Make sure to walk your dog.